Friends, welcome to my channel. In this video I am going to discuss the latest past papers of fourth semester final term January 2022. The previous ones, they are available on my channel. Go to playlist, and in the past papers they are available, also available on my blog. Go to here, right? BS English past papers, PDF and videos, you will find them. So without wasting time, let's begin. And this is introduction to entrepreneurship. And most often you might observe in your midterm as well, most of the questions they get repeated, right? So just to prepare them. Question number 1: entrepreneurs ought to be innovative in terms of their personal characteristics. Explain the importance and dimensions of creativity along with examples. And part B is describe the concept of new venture team with examples, and also highlight few common mistakes in putting together a new venture team. Obviously the concepts are very simple, and you have to follow that book, that amazing book, right? Entrepreneurship, that you are following. And you have to give examples. One thing I emphasize on is whatever you say, give examples as many as you can in the entrepreneurship, right? And question number 2 is financing is a dire need of every startup, and there are many ways to get it. Explain the most creative source of financing along with methods and sufficient relevant examples, right? And part B is marketing activities generally revolves around the 4 P's, commonly known as marketing mix, right? So compare and differentiate the advertising and public relation under marketing mix. And question number 3 is all businesses want to be recognized by distinguishing features to enhance their visibility. Explain trademarks with examples and what should be protected under trademarks law. And franchising is a form of growth which allows to sell your products through franchisees. So compare the bright and dark side, obviously advantages and disadvantages of franchising as a method of business expansion. Let me zoom it. So this is introduction to research methodology. Question number 1: write short notes on the following. Part A: plagiarism and ways to avoid it. I've covered all the important topics of research methodology available on my channel. I've covered all the topics in your course, right? Part B: importance of literature review. And question number 2 is what is the importance of data collection in research process. Discuss some significant tools being employed for collection of data. Question number 3: do as direct, right? So these are MCQs. The first one is look at the reference, what kind of material is being referred below, right? I might be wrong in some of the questions, right? So you have to choose the correct one, right? I'm not pretty sure, right? Maybe I'm wrong in some of the questions, right? So this is a reference is given, so you have to identify which reference it is. So I've identified it as a reference from a book. And question 2: look at the reference, what kind of material is being referred. So this is a journal article. Look at the reference and what kind of material is being referred. So once you know about the roles of referencing, how to give reference from a book, from a journal, from newspaper, from website, you easily identify any given reference material, right? So just to remember the rules, how to give reference from a book, newspaper, journal, article, website, or anything. So I've discovered API referencing in detail. Just go through it. Right, so this is a reference from a web page as the link is given, right? URL obviously http www dot. And the fourth one is, when you list your references at the end of your work, you should do it. You have one long list of all your references arranged alphabetically by author. And for fifth one is, for a journal article reference, what should be italicized, right? I'm not pretty sure about that. I'm confused about title should be italicized or journal name. You must confirm it, right? And sixth one, this is an incomplete reference. What is missing in there? So obviously volume, issue number, and DOI is missing there. 7, look at the reference. What kind of material is being referred? Obviously it refers to a web page. And novel, 3 questions are there. Question number 1, show how Dickens in his novel Hard Times represents the impact of industrial revolution, not only in terms of material perspective but also from moral and philosophical perspective as well. Obviously this is a 19th century novel, and the impact of industrial revolution is the main focus of the novel. As you see, Mr. Bounderby, he is owner of that industry and many laborers are working under him. So how badly they were treated, exploited, that he referred to them as only hands, because he considered them inferior beings, right? So the ill impacts of industrial revolution, obviously negative impacts, have been focused in that novel. Question number 2, Thomas Hardy is a fatalist. If so, trace the fatalistic learnings in Thomas Hardy novel The Return of the Native. So obviously Thomas Hardy fatalism, role of fate, is very prominent in this novel The Return of the Native. If I get some time, I'll cover that topic as well, or if you need any material regarding that, all the notes are available on my blog, right? So obviously it is the fate, role of fate, fatalism, that is the one of the most important theme in Return of the Native. So keeping in view that theme, you have to discuss. So I emphasize you to go through the text, right? In your answer, give some textual evidence, dialogues, quotation from the text that make your answer very attractive, sound knowledgeable, right? And question number 3, the mill on the floors reflect George Eliot's psychological insight into human characters and their motives. So I have also covered or will cover this novel as well, Mill on the Floors, and obviously it is an autobiographical novel of George Eliot, her life, and she represented her own life through the character of Maggie. So psychological insight, the children's psychology is represented there, right? So you can relate the to this question. Obviously discussing other characters as well, their psychological development and things like that. And this is literary prose. Question number 1, explain with reference to the context. Part A, the power which resides in him is new in nature, and none but he knows what that is which he can do, nor does he know until he has tried. So these lines are taken from the essay Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I have covered all the essays, all the writers line by line explanation as well. You better go through them. Videos are available. And part B, but all nations have agreed that it is good to be well dressed at this play. And then the bats and balls are very costly. So some people, if you didn't go through the text or the essay, it's difficult to perceive these lines, right? Because this is not the physical meaning, birds and balls. Actually they have metaphorical meaning. They refers to the weapons, right? In his essay work by John Ruskin, Ruskin has discussed that how the great powers like America, they play great games, right? Great games means war. They are selling weapons, and obviously bat and balls refer to weapons, and they are very expensive. So well dressed up at the play refers to war. The soldiers are well dressed up, right? Prepare for the war. And question number 2 is, Emerson believes that society must be resisted in favor of one's individuality, discussed with reference to the essay self-reliance. Obviously, one of the most prominent theme in the self-reliance is the society as a wave. I've discussed all of this in detail. Society is the hurdle, an individuality for an individual, for the learning and growth of an individual. The society is a wave, is a hurdle. And question number 3 is, what does John Stuart Mill lay out his argument against censorship in his essay The Liberty of Thought and Discussion? Censorship, anything that is banned. Obviously we have lack of freedom of speech, right? And here discuss state. So it's all about the freedom of expression of speech, right? In his essay Liberty of Thought and Discussion. So he had discussed that how the discussion improves, and so such things you have to discuss. And this is romantic and Victorian poetry, my favorite one. I always love the literature subjects, especially poetry, classical poetry, romantic and Victorian poetry. Love them, right? And question number 1, the literary critics usually insisted on interpreting literary text in terms of its social and historical context. What does Keats' speakers in the ode you have read in your course suggest? We ought to consider a work of art as the work of art only. So this is a critical question, right? By after reading the poems, John Keats' poems, or to Grecian Anne, or to Nightingale. So Keats' theory of negative capability, you can apply there, you can relate it there. I have explained that topic, Keats' negative capability, in video as well. To get a better idea, you go through them and how he had applied this technique in Ode to Grecian Anne and Ode to Nightingale. And obviously the aesthetics or aesthetic objectivity, right, is there. Art for art's sake, you might heard about it. So it is sometimes only for art's sake, right? So you have to relate it. Question number 2, what is your opinion about the reliability or unreliability of the Duke's monologue in My Last Touches? Give appropriate evidence for your answer. So obviously it is a first person narration, right? It's a monologue, dramatic monologue. My Last Touches, I have covered that as well. So the narrator use first person narration, use I. So obviously it is unreliable. you are not pretty sure because only one person is talking, so you cannot see the other side. He is blaming his wife, right, for her flirtation, but we cannot see the other person argumentation. We are not sure about whether he is true or not in his blaming for his wife, right? So it is unreliable, seem unreliable. So you have to explain it according to your own understanding. Question number 3 is explore the predominant theme of death and the ways that it is portrayed and represented in the poems of Christina Rossetti. So theme of death is very prominent in the poems of Christina Rossetti, and she was a devoted Christian religious person indeed, and she believes in the ultimate realities. And death is one of the ultimate reality of life. We have to face death. So the concept of death after life, so we believe in that. And our beliefs somehow similar in Christianity and Islam as well. And apart from that, so she in her life she faced many problems, disappointments, rejection, losses. So these melancholic sadness things appear in her writing. So this is all. Hope you understand. Thank you for watching.